When the revenue of your online store is not where you want it to be, you're probably asking yourself, maybe I should focus on different kind of ads, maybe I should increase my conversion rate, or maybe my average order value is the problem. You see, there are a lot of things that could be the cause and that could be the problem, and the thing is that a lot of e-commerce founders, they are guessing. They don't really know what they should actually be focusing on. Now in this video, I will show you a framework that you can use to actually diagnose your store so you know where the problem is and what you can do in order to solve that problem and actually grow your store. So if you want to stop guessing and actually want to know what you need to focus on, then I recommend you watch this video till the end so you not only know how to diagnose the problem, but also that you know how to fix it and what common mistakes you need to avoid. Now, in case you're wondering who is this guy and why should I listen to whatever he has to say, I'm Marc Uitterhoeve, and for more than 8 years I've been working with more than 60 e-commerce brands to help and grow their business. And actually what we do is use a certain framework to diagnose where the problem lies. Is it the conversion rate that's the problem? Do they actually need to work on the AOV, or maybe they need to work on the retention? And with our framework, it's very easy to understand what the problem is and where you should focus on. So let's dive in. Now I'm going to start with showing you a formula. This is the foundation of the framework. And don't worry, you don't have to do a lot of thinking. It's an easy formula, but it helps you to clearly identify where your bottleneck is. Because basically your online revenue is made up of your traffic times the conversion rate of your store, times the average order value, times the purchase frequency, also like your retention. And if you know this formula, if you know your numbers, then you can clearly identify where you should focus on right now. Now, how does this work? Well, I'm going to show you the numbers that you need to look at and that will help you decide what to focus on. And the first metric that you should look at is the conversion rate. So you need to check your conversion rate. And the thing is that if this is lower than 0.5%, then that should be the focus point. So let's just put here 1. The thing is, because if there's no one really converting on your store, then it doesn't matter if you're going to send more traffic to it, or if you're going to work on how much they spend or how often they buy, because if no one is there to even buy, then what do you focus on? Like, it's not really going to actually move the needle. So that's why conversion rate is the first thing that you will need to look at. Now, the second one that is very important to focus on is then the traffic. If this is, for example, fewer than 10,000 visitors a month, then that is what you need to focus on. Because if your conversion rate is decent, let's say that's 2.5%, and you only have 300 people on your site, then you definitely need to work on getting more people to the site. The conversion rate is not necessarily the problem. People are buying, but you just don't have enough people on your website to actually grow, to actually increase your revenue. So then you will need to focus on that. And the reason why your conversion rate has to be also a decent percentage is that if you're going to increase your traffic, it's very likely that your conversion rate is also going to drop. Because if you're getting more people on your website, you're also increasing the chance of getting people on there that are not really qualified, that actually are not looking to buy your product. That risk is going to increase when you get more people to your website. So if this is already like 1% and you're going to get more traffic to your site, it's going to get maybe to 0.7%. So then it's difficult to get, of course, your business profitable. So that's why this is going to be number 2. Now, the third one that you need to focus on is AOV. And that is because if your conversion rate is good and if your traffic is also good, but your average order value, let's just say, is the same as one SKU, meaning that's the same as, let's say, your bestseller. So your bestseller or your popular product is like 50 euros. And your average order value is also 50 euros. It means that people are not buying anything else besides your product. So then it's important to focus on your AOV. So again, in order, if your conversion rate is good, if it's decent, if it's above the 1.5%, I'm not saying that if it's above 1.5, it's good, but at least it's going to be decent. And your users are above 10,000 a month. Now, again, it's not to say that that's high, but at least that shows that's not really the problem right now. Then your average order value is the thing you would need to look at if you want to get more profitable, because apparently you're getting people to the site, they are converting, but if you're not really profitable, if you have difficulties to scale, then it's probably the average order value that is going to be the lever that's going to move the needle for you. If you can get them to spend more, if you can get them to buy more products or more of the same product, you can use maybe tiered pricing, then you'll get more margin per order, and therefore you will have more to invest in order to grow your store. And lastly, the one that you need to look at is the purchase frequency. That's number 4. That's the last one in the row. And let's just say that if this is lower or the same as 1.2, then you need to focus on your retention, because not a lot of people are buying again. Now, why is retention last? Because it's, when you look at the importance of things, it's least, because hey, if no one is buying, then why focus on people buying again? Right? So that's going to be the first one you need to focus on. If you have barely any traffic on your website, then getting people to buy again is not going to really help because you just don't have a lot of people on there. So you cannot squeeze much out of it. And if people are also not spending a lot per order, then you can focus on the purchase frequency, but then you constantly are going to have low margin or low profitability on each order. If you can help them, if you can motivate them to spend more, then each order is also going to be more ka-ching. So then it's important, lastly, to focus on getting them to buy again. Now, there is one exception here when it comes to AOV and purchase frequency, and that is if you have a subscription model, especially for consumables or supplements. If people need to buy your product regularly to get results, and if they have a certain subscription possible, then purchase frequency will be more important than AOV. Now, the reason why purchase frequency or retention is going to be more important than AOV is because if you offer supplements, if you offer consumables, or at least something that has a subscription model where people like monthly or bi-monthly are going to buy from you, then that lifetime value is going to be higher. Because when people buy month after month, then it doesn't really matter if their AOV is maybe a bit lower because you don't have to spend money acquiring them. They constantly are buying from you again, and you're not spending a lot of acquisition costs. Of course, maintaining that retention and increasing that retention is going to be an investment, but it's in pale comparison to working on your AOV when you can actually work on getting people to stay longer and buy regularly. So if you have a subscription model, then I would turn this into a 3 and this to a 4. And otherwise, if you don't have that option, then it's definitely AOV first and then the purchase frequency. Once you have identified what your bottleneck is, then it's time to work on it. Now, what can you do in order to fix that? Now, I just want to say that if you identify 2 bottlenecks, so if you, for example, have identified that your conversion rate is the bottleneck, but also your average order value, then I would still start with conversion rate since that's the first one in the hierarchy, and then the average order value. Now, once you have identified that, then you need the tools in order to fix it. Now, what can you do? If conversion rate is the problem, then it's definitely the website that you need to look at. And also how you are getting people to your website. What I mean to say is that if there's a discrepancy between the ad and your landing page, then they also need to look at the ad that's getting people to your website. For example, if the ad talks about something for free, or said something is easy, or that's a plug and play kind of thing, and on your website you don't even mention the same kind of words, then there's going to be a disconnect. So yes, your website is going to be the majority of the opportunity there, but you also need to look at the ad, because if there's a discrepancy there, then people are not going to convert. Now, there are a lot of things that you can do to increase your conversion rate, and it's not of the scope of this video. It would take hours to go over them all, but you can join our community if you want. You can just check the description and join our community, and there all the possibilities to increase your conversion rates are in there. But the most important thing is that you discover what your customer wants, and if you also display that clearly on your page. So if the goal of your audience is, for example, to feel more healthy or to like battle the pain that they experience, then it needs to be clear on your page that your product relieves them of that pain, that it helps them achieve their goals. So if you know the goal of your audience and you don't mention it on your page, that's already a huge opportunity. But also, is there a certain fear? And usually the fear that people have is that it either doesn't work, or that the quality is low, or that you just don't deliver on their promises and maybe they don't even get their product. If you can get that away, for example, you can work with a certain guarantee, or if you can show social proof that actually tackle those same objections. For example, there are people that have also had the same doubts, that thought it wouldn't work. They had tried everything and then they bought your product and then they actually got results. That will remove some of the doubt and fear that people have. So if you know what motivates them, what their goals are, and what their fears and doubts are, then you can actually tackle it on your page. And this is going to have more impact on your conversion rate than any interface optimizations that you can do. Yeah, of course, if your navigation is broken or if your add to cart button doesn't work, that needs to be fixed first, of course. But if you have a generally decent website where people can browse and things work, there are not too many bugs, and it's clear there's no confusion there, then if you work on talking about the goals and motivations of the audience, that your product can help them achieve that, and you remove the fear and doubt, that's going to be really effective. Again, there are myriads of things that you can do, but then join our community and you will see all of that. Next, if you want to focus on your traffic because you've identified that that's the problem, then you need to look into what are you already doing and how are they performing. If you look at each traffic source and how they convert, then you can also see what has the priority right now. For example, if your Google CPC converts at 3% and your direct traffic converts at 3.5% and your Google organic converts at only 1%, then the big opportunity there is to work on your SEO, on the Google organic search results. If you actually don't do anything to acquire a lot of people, like you're very dependent on organic results or direct traffic, then it's time to look into, okay, how can I get more people to my website? Do we need to focus on ads, or do we need to focus maybe on social media? Those are the two most common ones. You can also work with affiliates and influencers, but it's also very important to see what your audience does. If your audience is a lot on TikTok, then it's important to focus on TikTok. But if your audience is a lot on Google CPC, like they're a lot on Google, so then it's important to focus on these ads. But if actually people are a lot on Instagram and they follow a lot of influencers, then maybe you want to also look into that. So focus on what is your audience doing? And usually, best practice is that Google CPC. If you focus on Google Ads, that's a good thing to do. And that's where you can start. But that's kind of a rule of thumb. So always look at your audience. If they are a lot on Instagram, if they are a lot on Facebook, or if they are a lot on TikTok, or if they maybe are a lot on Reddit, see what you can then do to get attention and to get people on your website. So focus on the traffic part and also monitor closely. If you cannot do it yourself and you work with a consultant or an agency, speak with them what the targets are, what they think is reasonable to achieve, see, and also let them do the work for you. Let them calculate if that's profitable for you, and then you know what targets you need to hit. Because if you're going to just hire someone, or you're going to hire an agency and you let them do their thing and you don't know how it all works and what targets they would need to hit, then you're going to lose a lot of money. But if you sit with them and decide the goals beforehand, say like, okay, we need to have a ROAS of, for example, 3, or we need like a cost per acquisition of, for example, 15 euros, then you'll know this is a target that we need to hit in order to be profitable and to scale. And then you can also critically look at the ads agency or the person you hired, that they actually are achieving their goals. Because I've met a lot of e-commerce founders didn't really have an idea if the ads were doing good or not, because they didn't set those targets. So that's what you can do on the traffic side. So we looked at conversion rate and also at what you can do to improve your traffic. What can you do to improve the average order value? There are a lot of things you can do, and most of the things that are being done are wrong. It's just like a tool that shows frequently bought together items. That's not going to help. It also, of course, depends on how many products you're selling and how compatible they are. For example, if you are selling one product line and it's all the same product but for different use cases, then it's going to be more challenging to do, for example, a cross-sell, because you cannot really combine both products. What you can try then is that you do kind of a tier discount. If you buy more of that same product, then you get a discount, and people can maybe use 2 or 3, or they can gift it to someone else. That's a way where you can increase your average order value. But the best thing is to just find complementary items. For example, if you sell sleep masks and you sell different kinds of sleep masks, then you can, of course, give an incentive if people buy another one. But what are you going to do with 2 or 3 sleep masks? But if you then invest in, for example, earplugs or white noise machines, then that is going to be what people need in order to improve their sleep. And this is some attributes that they can use to help, and that will be more relevant for them to also increase the average order value. So look into what you can also do to increase your product offering. In other cases, if you sell more products, you can, for example, connect a laptop with an external mouse, or a TV with a soundbar, or certain supplements. Maybe if you have a combination of supplements, that will improve your health even further. If you sell a couch, maybe some cushions for the couch. So look at these things that actually make sense. Don't just trust an algorithm to do it for you. Use your smart intelligence in order to figure it out yourself, and also test it to see what works, because oftentimes these tools that recommend it themselves, they're usually crap, unless you are like an Amazon and you have so much data that actually it can predict what people are looking for. Otherwise, all that machine learning and AI is not going to work for you. There are, of course, different ways that you can do. There are more ways that you can increase your average order value. You can work on your pricing, you can work with shipping thresholds. For example, if you offer free shipping at a higher threshold, so not spend 50 euros, you get free shipping, but 60 euros and get free shipping. This is also a way that you can improve your average order value. You can also offer post-purchase upsell. So people would have already bought, and then you present them with a no-brainer that they could add. So you're not risking losing the sale beforehand because you are presenting them with an upsell. You do it after they already bought. There are a lot of ways that you can do this. Also in our community, we'll talk more about that. But focus on these things if your average order value is the problem. Now, the last one is retention, and that's actually for a lot of brands a problem. Not necessarily the first one they need to focus on, but for a lot of brands the issue, because a lot of brands don't focus on purchase frequency or retention. What you need to do then is to, okay, what can I do to keep people engaged? What can I do to keep things interesting for them? And there are a lot of ways that you can actually improve that retention. And especially if you sell, for example, consumables or supplements, you have a subscription model, then it is crucial that you know what the goal is of your audience, because then you can offer them value in your emails or even in inserts in the packages maybe that help them achieve their goals. For example, if people want to lose weight, then you can offer them also guides for healthy dieting or like healthy meals, or how to do a proper workout, or how to get a healthy routine. These are things that you don't necessarily sell, but you help them achieve their goal. And therefore it's valuable for them to read your emails, to stay engaged, and also to keep buying from you. Now let me give another example. You might say, okay, but I'm selling washing machines and no one's going to buy 2 washing machines in the same year. What you can do then is at least offer value. Like what you can do is focus on installation. Maybe you can do the installation for them. So that means that they think like, hey, that's a great service, and they are more likely to also buy other products from you or to refer you to your friends. Or if you help them with how you can best maintain your product, or installation guides with a video, which is really helpful, maybe more helpful than just a booklet. See what you can do to make it easier for them, either with the maintenance, with the support, with the service, in order that people think like, wow, this is a great company. I would recommend them to anyone who's looking for a similar product. So the purchase frequency might then not increase, but at least the referrals increase, which is also lowering your acquisition cost. And just one last tip when it comes to retention, also look at what you would like to receive and what communication you would find valuable if you would have those same goals, maybe even have them. And if you have the same fears and doubts when using the product, and what would motivate you to continue using the product. Because that's the key point here. It has to be valuable. You can also, of course, ask your customers. That would be the best way to do, but also start with critically observing and thinking what is actually valuable. Not just, okay, I just have an ebook out there, I just have an email and tick that off the box. Work at what is actually valuable, what's going to really improve the attitude of the consumer towards my brand. Now I want to go quickly back to the formula, because I'm going to talk about what mistakes to avoid when you're working on your bottlenecks and when you're going to decide what needs priority right now. Because a lot of the brands, they focus a lot on traffic. They think that is the main thing that they need to work on. But as you can see, if your conversion rate is actually the problem, then you need to focus on that first. That is going to be the thing that's going to move the needle the most for you. And as well, if you have, for example, 100,000 visitors and you realize that actually the other things are lower, then you need to focus maybe on your average order value or your retention. So even though traffic is a topic that's talked about a lot, it probably in most cases doesn't even have the priority to focus on. It oftentimes doesn't actually need the priority. It's not the focus point that you need to have. It also shows that a lot of brands, they are going to do a redesign when they feel they're stuck, and therefore they hope that they mainly tackle this problem. And the thing is, maybe it is either the traffic problem or the fact that people are not spending a lot or they are not buying consistently. So you can do a redesign, but that usually won't fix the other problems, and in most cases it actually lowers your conversion rate. So the redesign is oftentimes not the best way to go, but it also shows you there are a lot of factors in play and the redesign won't fix all of them. The third mistake is that you don't do any research. So you think, okay, my conversion rate is low, let's tweak some things, but you don't check the fears and doubts or the motivations of your customers, like what's really bothering them. And therefore you're not going to change the things that matter. Or you don't research what people actually are buying together or what people actually do once they buy your product. So you don't focus on the right upsells or cross-sells, or you also don't focus on the right valuable content that people need in order to stay loyal, to use your product in the right way and to keep on consistently using it, so they need to buy from you again and again. So do your custom research to also know what actually will have an impact on them. And the last problem is that you maybe try to focus on all of the things at the same time. Well, some things might actually not be broken. For example, purchase frequency might be all right. And once you're going to tackle all of them, then maybe the purchase frequency is actually going to lower. And that was not the problem. It was actually the AOV and maybe the conversion rate that was the issue. So if you identify what you actually need to focus on, then you also prevent that perhaps other levers are going to decrease because you are focusing on too many things at the same time. Plus, it's usually never a good thing to focus on all the things at the same time, to make them all a priority, because then it takes also very long before you get results, because it takes longer to fix 4 things than 1 thing. And usually it also leads to one of these things to never really finish, because other things might eventually get priority. And let's say you focus on all 4, like maybe conversion rate will get actually the most traction. Everyone likes that maybe the best. The CEO might think that's the most important thing. So you focus actually on this more than all the others, while actually here was the thing that would actually really move the needle and what makes you more profitable. So have a clear idea of what your bottleneck is the best way forward. Now, if you feel like you need help to identify your bottleneck, or if you don't really know how to tackle it because there are so many things that you can do in order to fix that problem, feel free to join our community. Check the description and join our community where we'll have a ton of information and also help you to focus on the things that matter for you and what you need to prioritize. We'll help you figure that out and also fix the problems and avoid making the mistakes. And once you do that, be sure to watch this video in which I show you the GA4 report that will show you your bottlenecks. It will help you identify your bottlenecks. So be sure to check that one out.